always seems to be Survivor Series, doesn't it? What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watch Along Wrestling. Hopefully everyone is doing well and staying safe. Man, I've got that post-Thanksgiving glow, and I'm ready to go. I'm happy to be here. I'm strutting like Ric Flair. What a time to be a fan of pro wrestling, in particular WWE, after this past weekend at the Survivor Series. And I am going to break it all down in this video, talk to you about the entire show, my thoughts on everything, maybe get you set for Raw, as we're just a couple hours away from what I assume will be a very exciting episode of Monday Night Raw. But what a show this past weekend in Chicago. Before I get there, though, if it's your first time visiting the channel, make sure you leave a big thumbs up and subscribe. We had a little hiatus, but now we've got some time. I went out, I had a second child, it was fun, and now I've got a little time, so I'm going to break down some wrestling with you here, at least through the end of the year, chock full of wrestling goodness right here on the channel. So now is as good a time as ever to make sure you're subscribed and locked in to all things Watch Along Wrestling. All right, so Survivor Series 2023. You know, Survivor Series in general, for me, if you think back, like I said in the open, I mean, it's always this Survivor Series. You think back, Montreal Screwjob, debut of The Undertaker, debut of Rock, debut of Kurt Angle, debut of The Shield, WWE return of Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, WWE debut of Sting. It's like sometimes they take what's supposed to be the lull of the year, that period between Survivor Series and first Raw of the year. I always feel like that is a little bit of a lull. You can kind of probably just not watch much WWE at that point. There's no pay-per-views, and that can end up being a bit of a lull in terms of the year, holiday season, all that. But then sometimes they give you an extra little bit of hype. Instead of starting the WrestleMania build with that first Raw of the year, sometimes they give you the start of it right at Survivor Series, and that is certainly how it felt this past weekend at Survivor Series 2023. For me, I was really excited for this one. I actually went ahead and made sure the family was home, ready to watch this show live. It is not something I typically do. I watch all the PLEs, but unfortunately, most of these PLEs start on Saturday nights. I'm one of the few people who much prefers them on a Sunday night. We've got a wife, got some kids. It's hard to get the family to come together and watch something on a Saturday night. And then when those shows usually take place in Saudi Arabia now, in the middle of a Saturday, forget it. I don't stand a chance. So it's much more difficult for me to watch a PLE live. But this one, I made sure, this is the first one I've watched live since the Royal Rumble, excluding obviously WrestleMania and SummerSlam. I was at those shows, so yes, I watched those live. But from home, the only one I've watched live, the last one I watched live before this was Royal Rumble 2023. I made it a point to have everyone get together for that one. I did the same here with Survivor Series 2023. I was like, if CM Punk returns, there's no way this is not going to get spoiled for me. My phone will blow up. People aren't even going to ask if I'm watching. They'll send a bunch of exclamation points. They'll send the big glowy eyes. It's going to be ruined for me 100%. So I was like, I'm watching this from start to finish, and that's exactly what I did. And I had an absolutely great time. It's so much better to watch a PLE live than watching it on delay, watching it in the middle of the night, watching it several days later. Not nearly as fun. Almost always gets ruined for me on Twitter at that point. So I really did. I enjoyed the hell out of this show. I thought it was so much fun. And the big reveal of CM Punk, I guess let's get into that. Let's start with that, because I think that's the biggest news story coming out of that. 10 years in the making. You think about how many shows where the fans would just chant for CM Punk. Literally, I don't think a month has gone by since 2014 that you didn't hear a pronounced CM Punk chant at a WWE event. You think about him going to UFC, him going to AEW. It started to really feel like he's never going to come back to WWE. He's been very outspoken about his anger and a lot of the different feelings that he was feeling towards WWE. So even though we were having some rumors about this going into the show, until he was down on one knee, given the It's Cleverin' time, I did not think that he was coming back at all at this show. I was hopeful, but I didn't expect it until it actually happened. And the way that they did this reveal of CM Punk to bring him back to WWE, I think was brilliant. I actually think it was I compare it to the Ronda Rousey WWE debut, and I know a lot of people at this stage, a lot of people are negative on Ronda. I don't personally get it. I like Ronda a lot. But I think her debut was built similarly to this, where you had several years in the making, not nearly as long as Punk, and she wasn't a beloved WWE figure like Punk was back, 2011 through 2014. He was one of the biggest stars in WWE, and I think got a lot of people into WWE. So, but Ronda, I think her debut was brilliantly done, where you knew there was this rumor that maybe she'd be coming in, doing a run with WWE at Rumble 2018. Had the whole Rumble match. You're waiting for that surprise entry. Number 30 is a surprise entry. You think maybe it's going to be Ronda. Instead, it's Trish Stratus, so you're not going to be disappointed because you still like Trish Stratus. You think, okay, maybe Ronda's not coming. Asuka wins the Rumble, which she should have because she was still undefeated at the time. You have this great moment where she comes in the ring. You've got the two champions, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte there. You think, all right, it's over. I remember my wife, we were at the show. My wife went to the restroom to head out. My wife was ready to hit the road. And then, boom, obviously, Ronda's music hits. Out comes Ronda Rousey. Everyone losing their mind. Just such an incredible moment. And I think that's a lot of what this reminded me of with CM Punk. The way they built this up throughout the night. First off, I'm starting on Monday with them revealing Randy Orton, which I think was I thought, and the way I took this, was their way of making sure no one would think it was Punk because they revealed who it was going to be, right? I think if they went into Chicago and had you think that maybe it was going to be CM Punk and didn't announce it was going to be Randy Orton, you'd be very worried that, then they'd have some worry that if they revealed Randy Orton, who's a great big surprise, hasn't been there for 18 months, certainly a great Final Five guy on the Cody Rhodes team, that if he came out and it wasn't CM Punk, there would have been some disappointment. I don't think there would have been. I think that WWE remembers back to how things were back in 2014, 2015 with people hijacking the show if they're not getting exactly what they want. This crowd in Chicago was not like 2014, 2015. They were super into everything. Every single person who was on this show, people were really into it. I'd say save, unfortunately, for like Zoe Stark. But other than that, people were really into everything WWE. They were amped up. Crowd was on fire. I mean, The Miz came off like he was the biggest star in the entire company at Survivor Series. So I think if they had just revealed Orton, they probably would have been okay. But then they reveal it's going to be Orton, and then throughout the night, they start to leave you with this cliffhanger of whether or not Randy Orton's going to show up. And they start to even make mention that he isn't going to show up, and that was the tease that, hey, maybe it's going to be CM Punk. Second they mention that, you start hearing the crowd with the CM Punk chants. And, I didn't think that was where they were going with it. I still thought it makes no sense for them to advertise Randy Orton and then not deliver it. So I did expect Orton to come out. What I thought they were going to do was have Orton come out and cost the Rhodes team the match, and then have Priest cash in. Instead, they deliver Randy Orton. They have this whole big deal. Randy comes out. I think he looked great. People were unbelievably hot for him. There was no disappointment that it was him. When he came out, people were exploding for him. And throughout the match, honestly, if this show went off the air and there was no CM Punk, I think people probably would have been, would have been cool, but I don't think there would have been that much disappointment. He was the cherry on top. They even did this great ending of the men's War Games match, and I'll get into more of that when I break down the show in chronological order. But at the end of the match, they have each one of those big five baby faces hit their move. You had the Helluva kick. You had Jey Uso hitting the big splash. Cody with the crossroads. You had Randy Orton with the monster RKO off the top of the cage that was just crazy. And everyone's standing tall. And honestly, it reminded me of kind of the end of last year's War Games with the Bloodline standing tall, where I said, WWE could probably take the rest of the year off. I don't think anybody... There would just be a lot of great excitement about WWE coming back for the first Raw of 2024. Instead, that's not what happened. They had all the babyfaces stand up there, everyone holding their hands up. They did the credit roll, which they've done in NXT, but they really haven't done that. And to my knowledge, they haven't done the credit roll in WWE and then done something. I don't recall anything like that. So they did the credit roll, and then boom, obviously CM Punk's music hit. I lost my mind. I was loud as can be. I was worried for my poor newborn who was all upset to see Dad acting a fool. But it was an incredible moment. Probably the most... I think to a lesser extent, I was very excited when Batista returned, when he was revealed that he laid out Ric Flair back in 2019. But this one was it was so well done. It was incredible. You just didn't know if WWE would ever pull the trigger on this. Because even though Triple H has mended fences with Bruno Sammartino, Ultimate Warrior, Goldberg, everyone brought in Sting, finally got Sting to be a big part of bringing Sting into WWE. CM Punk literally looked the guy in the face and said, hey, a match with you at WrestleMania is not a big enough deal for me. It's not a WrestleMania main event. And I'm sure that stung. And for Triple H to be able to take that and be able to put that in the back burner for the betterment of business, we got a great guy here running WWE. If you're a WWE fan, you got to be excited about that. I thought it was awesome. And, what a moment. Comes out, CM Punk looked great. Crowd was going absolutely insane. How about that fan who's hugging CM Punk and screaming, Chicago, Chicago, Chicago? He's up in the middle of the screen. I mean, that guy's going to live forever. People will be remembering that moment forever, and that fan right there, perfect place. Punk going in there, man of the people. There's nobody who's probably more over. It's like Bret Hart in Canada. It really is. CM Punk in Chicago, he's just beloved. I mean, people just can't get enough of the guy. And no matter what he does, even when, he had all this stuff going on with AEW, and that AEW crowd is really, they're very loyal to the elite. Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Adam Hangman Page, they're very much loyal to those folks. You think about, they turned on friggin' Cody Rhodes, who brought AEW to existence. So, going into the places in Chicago where Punk was coming in, a lot of AEW fans hated him, but not in Chicago. They couldn't get enough of him. They were totally 100% behind CM Punk. He is their guy. Chicago made Punk, and for him to come back. Now, there are people saying online, hey, was this the right move because Randy Orton just came back, right? He's been gone for 18 months. Did he deserve his own night? Whatever. I mean, it's honestly being silly. That's looking for the quotes. That's looking for the clicks. That's, starting to try engagement. I don't know. Whatever. It's not really my bag, if I'm being honest. No. Who cares, right? I mean, yeah, Randy Orton's going to have his, he's going to have his moment. I think he came back, looked great, had his moment in the ring. Randy Orton's fine. He's going to be totally fine. Doesn't matter that he didn't have the one night standalone and then you tried to do Punk at a different time. You could have done Punk at the Rumble in Tampa. It wouldn't have been nearly as big as in the Allstate Arena in Chicago. Place came unglued. It was 100% the way to do it, and give them credit for keeping this a secret. No one knew this was going to happen. All the bigwig, reporters, your Dave Meltzers, your Sean Ross Saffs, they didn't know this was going to happen. They, I know they were, and to their credit, I don't think that maybe WWE didn't necessarily know this was going to happen. I think it was kept at a very need-to-know basis, and with good reason, because when there is a surprise, when there is that element of, wow, is this real? Like, you see the clip of Seth Rollins charging CM Punk at the end of Survivor Series. It's like, wow, is he really pissed? Is Drew McIntyre really pissed? Is he leaving WWE? Who knows? That's when wrestling's at its best. And when they can get a surprise, I think the return of Shane McMahon's the one I think of, where it came out of nowhere. No one was saying that was going to be Shane McMahon when he came back. So when they really get you, and no one knows 100% one way or the other where they're going with the surprises, it's when things are at its best. And I'm glad they were able to keep this one a surprise. Whatever they did, I hope they continue to do, because you don't want that stuff spoiled. You want that moment of, yeah, it's great for conversation. Throughout the whole day, we were messaging back and forth with my wrestling friends. Hey, is Punk come back? No, he's not. No way. I don't think so. Blah, blah, blah. And then he comes back at the end. Huge surprise and really great moment. And I can't wait for Raw tonight. I don't know where they're going to go with this. You've got tons of huge baby faces now. You've got Cody. You've got Jey Uso, who's on the rise. You've got Seth Rollins. Now Randy Orton, CM Punk, Sami Zayn. Tons of baby faces. You really only got one major heel. I guess Gunther, too. Two major heels, probably Gunther and Roman Reigns. So I think they'll probably flip someone. Maybe Randy Orton. Maybe he comes out. He's upset that they took away his moment. I don't think he cares. But I think, but I think maybe that's what they do. But this was so well done. So much fun. Probably the best big thing to come out of Survivor Series in a while. It had been probably since the NXT Survivor Series in 2019. Even that was, it was fun, but it wasn't like huge groundbreaking news to come out of it. But it used to be, Survivor Series was like this. It was one of the big four, and you wouldn't know what to expect, and you'd leave going, wow, that's so cool. Like, even if to a lesser extent, Survivor Series 2017, when it was Triple H and Braun Strowman going at it, you thought, oh crap, that's where they're going for WrestleMania. Like, that they used to do some really cool stuff at Survivor Series. Love the Survivor Series, So, in any event, let's break down the actual show proper now. Started with the War Games matches. Let me get into some ideas here about these War Games matches. They don't do it for me. I don't know if it was just, I was not a WCW kid, not an NWA kid, I was a WWE kid. So for me, like, if there's matches going on, I've got to be somewhat entertained. Probably the matches that I dislike the most are your Iron Man match, your 2 out of 3 Falls match, and these War Games matches, because there's such a long amount of downtime where just nothing's happening. There, in that women's match, I think it was something like, I guess it was like 20 minutes, more than 20 minutes, like the 23 minutes in the women's match and probably 33 minutes in the men's match, where the match had not officially started and they were just doing the whole thing with the advantages and whatever. What's the point? I could turn off the show and then come back 30 minutes later for the start of the match. They've got to make a change to those War Games matches. I really feel like you could easily do it. You're doing it at Survivor Series anyway, and such a big part of Survivor Series is the elimination piece. Why not do a deal where it's the elimination, you add in eliminations to the War Games matches, add a little bit of a WWE flavor on it, because they're not doing it like the old War Games matches. Old War Games matches wasn't like, hey, someone runs down and goes under the ring and grabs a weapon. That's not how the War Games matches were in WCW. Those weren't my favorite really either, if I'm being honest, but at least there it felt like these were like blood feuds ready to go. Whereas like this person now is coming down and they're looking under the ring, they're looking for a kendo stick. Next guy comes down, he's looking under the ring. Ooh, it's a steel chair. What are we doing? They're disjointed. The action's fine, but until I know the match has started and that we could actually have a pinfall, it just feels like kind of a waste of time. I'm not a fan of these War Games matches really at all. Now the matches themselves were very good, but until they start, they're a waste of, they're too long. So I hope they make a change there. It's cool to see visually. It's very cool. I love the 2 rings. That's fun. But for me, I just feel like they need to add the eliminations in there. I think if there at least was something, the Royal Rumble's a long match, but there's eliminations, there's surprises, there's entries, there's different things to keep you engaged throughout the Royal Rumble to make it such an exciting event for that entire hour. Whereas these matches, there's nothing going on except people coming and entering the ring. The advantages are not really that much fun, at least for me. So I didn't love the entire concept of War Games. I hope that we either do away with it or we add some elimination piece to it, because it's not doing it for me. I don't know, there's something that's missing. So anyway, the women's match, I think obviously we're getting to a point where Bayley's going to be leaving Damage Control at some point. I expect them to turn on her, whether it be right away or soon down the road. It's sad. I like Bayley in Damage Control. I think she comes across awesome. How badass did they all look coming out with the masks and that really cool music, and Bayley just looks like $1 million coming out there like a total badass heel. I would love to see Bayley as the leader of Damage Control go on and win the Royal Rumble, but I think instead she might do it as a babyface, and that's fine too. So, interesting to see where that goes. Obviously in this match, the big story, Bayley takes the fall she sacrifices herself in front of Kairi Sane, and in doing so ends up taking the fall for the team, and so Team Bianca wins. I felt like Damage Control should have gotten the win there. I always like when the actual faction gets the win as opposed to the random assortment of babyfaces that have formed in order to face the faction, but didn't happen in either case here, and I think it's fine. They did a deal where I love the product placement. I know people hate this stuff so much. I love this match is brought to you by Ruffles. This match is brought to you by Slim Jim. If I had more time, we'd have done a Ruffles taste test here on the Watch Along Wrestling channel. I am bummed we didn't get a chance to. I'm bummed I still have never tried a Slim Jim, and it would have been great to do it on the channel. Hopefully I'll be able to do that in the future. I think it's so funny. And it was great to see R-Truth back. R-Truth's been gone a long time. He's awesome. He's so much fun, and the nostalgia piece of him is great, and I think he just does such a good job and looks amazing. I mean, the guy you'd never know is I think he might actually be in his 50s, and he looks awesome. So great to have R-Truth back. Really funny skit there with the Ruffles backstage. Next up, you had Gunther versus The Miz. This was my favorite of the 3 extra matches put in there instead of War Games. There were random matches too this time around, but I thought the Intercontinental title match was great. Gunther versus The Miz. Honestly, the crowd was so fired up for Miz. There were a couple times I really thought they were going to have The Miz be the one to end Gunther's streak. I have not been, quiet about the idea that I'm over these long title reigns. It's fine if you have 1. It's fine if you have 2. The idea that everybody who wins a title at WrestleMania isn't going to lose it until the next WrestleMania is far too much for me. Rhea Ripley, Seth Rollins, Gunther, Roman Reigns. There's literally no chance these guys lose their titles before WrestleMania at any of these shows. And it just becomes like, it almost makes the title matches feel like the way title matches feel at house shows, where you'd almost prefer at a house show for a title not to be on the line because they're not going to do a title change at a house show. Now it literally feels that way on pay-per-views. If it's not WrestleMania, you don't expect that there's going to be a title change. And in my opinion, it's time that we shake some of these up. So I was all on the Miz train. I was like, let's have Miz beat Gunther. I know people would have been unhappy, but I'm ready to, get to the next step. Gunther's had the Intercontinental title forever. It doesn't matter, though, because his title reign is about 1,000 days less than Roman Reigns' title reign. So, yes, it's great. It's been a great reign. He's awesome. Gunther's amazing. But at the same time, he's had the title for so long, and I don't even know if anyone really cares because Roman's is like 1,000,000 times longer than his. So, it is what it is. Gunther obviously gets the win. You knew he would, but really strong match. I thought Miz looked great in this match, and I'm interested to see what they do with babyface Miz. They've tried it a couple times. It hasn't fully gotten over. I think he's certainly a better heel than a babyface, but people were into this, and so certainly a good first step here in his first feud, I think, as the babyface going against Gunther, and let's see what they do with Miz here moving forward. The guy hasn't had many wins. He's been kind of that guy who gets, loss after loss after loss, so it'd be nice to see him become more competitive in matches. Next up, they did, I think it was Santos Escobar against Dragon Lee. This was a solid match. Probably not as good as any of Dragon Lee's matches have been on TV recently. His match against Axiom was incredible. Against Dominic was amazing. He's had unbelievable matches every time he's been on television. Cedric Alexander is probably the best of the bunch. This match was okay. I think that, honestly, with the War Games, it's tough because there's such long matches that it's hard to get into the matches in the middle, similarly to at the Royal Rumble. So, I think, I don't know if Carlito's really hurt or if they were just like, hey, Dragon Lee is hot right now. We want to make sure we show him as much as we can. Kind of like how they did with, like, Takumi Shinoku back in 1997, where he was, like, this incredible athlete, and they didn't quite know what to do with him. So they're kind of having him have his own spot every week, and he can't complain. He's awesome. So, solid match. Glad to see Santos get the win there. They need to build him up as a solid heel. I assume they're going to have him go against Rey at WrestleMania if Rey is ready. And it'd be interesting to see. I think eventually, you could do a lot with him as a heel. He's a really good heel, and I'm glad that they're going with him. He should have got the win, but now it does hurt some of the momentum that Dragon Lee has. So, I question whether or not he should have been in the match. But at the same time, I'm glad that a match like this, which no title on the line, just a solid mid-card feud, was featured on the PLE, because there hasn't been too many of those. So it was nice to see. Zoe Stark against Rhea Ripley, never in doubt. I like Zoe Stark. She's got awesome theme music. It was way too early to put her on this in this spot for the women's title at Survivor Series. I hate to say it, but I just feel like Rhea, I don't know who you put in this spot against Rhea, but Rhea's clearly there. Rhea's going to be their champion for a while. Rhea's really, really good in the ring. Solid match, but at the end of the day, very, very quick. I think it was like 8-9 minutes. Rhea got a decisive win. I don't know. I think you could have built Zoe up a longer period of time. Could have gone with Shayna Baszler. Could have gone with a number of different people that you could have put in this spot over Zoe. And, hopefully that this doesn't hurt some of Zoe's momentum, because I like her and I think she was kind of on the rise. I just think it was way too quick for her to have this match. Crowd wasn't into it. It's the only thing on the show they weren't into really at all. And they were just ready for that War Games men's match. Getting into the War Games men's match, again, I won't belabor my point about my frustration with the War Games. I do think I enjoyed this one a lot more. I think that everybody coming out and getting such a major response and a major reaction was really cool. I think for me it showed that WWE has 5 really strong baby faces. And I love the tease. Thank goodness they did it with the tease of Judgment Day having the plan to have Damian Priest cash in Money in the Bank at War Games. To me, it made all the sense in the world. When that music hit and it was Rhea Ripley coming in instead of Randy Orton, it's like, oh shit, it's like they're going to have the Money in the Bank cash in. It made all the sense in the world, but it felt like something WWE wouldn't have done in the future. Have the title match in the middle of the match, and then they ended up having Randy Orton come in. Huge pop for Orton. Looked great. Came in there. Really cool to see some of those spots. You almost felt like it's a shame Matt Riddle couldn't keep together a little longer, because there's no close now to RK Bro. I don't know if anyone needed a close to RK Bro, but I think like him being one of those guys in that match, and then Orton coming out and him just, being Matt Riddle and just, oh my God, Randy, like all excited. I think like that would have been cool. So it's a shame it didn't work out with Riddle, and that we're not going to get any of RK Bro there together. But with that said, I thought Orton looked great. I do expect him to go heel at some point, but I think he did a good job. I love the idea of him hitting the big RKO. A lot of people are saying that should have been the finish, but I like the idea of him saying, no, Cody, you're getting the finish. You're the guy now. He kind of passed the torch to Cody. Cody was his protege and legacy, and that was Randy Orton's way of saying, hey, pass the torch to Cody Rhodes. He's the guy in WWE now, and away we go. So I thought it was really cool. I thought that match certainly was really well done. Again, that deserved a War Games match. It was really built up very, very strong with all of the Judgment Day involved and everyone else kind of going against them. I just honestly feel like there could be something added to the War Games match. Add some eliminations. I don't need everyone to look for a weapon every time they come in. It's too much for me. But in any event, thought it was a really strong show. And obviously one we'll remember forever just based on the CM Punk return and the CM Punk major moment there with him showing up in Chicago. And now what's to come at Raw, who knows? And it's exciting. It really is. WWE has found a way. Roman absolutely should be on Survivor Series. Ridiculous that Roman Reigns, the world champion, is not on a Big Four pay-per-view. He should be on the Big Four. He should be on Money in the Bank. He should be on the 2 Saudi shows. Everything else, whatever. Get him on whatever you need, but he should be on those shows. Final show of the year. There's a major void when your world champion is not on the show. I don't want to hear, oh, we didn't need him or whatever. He should have been on the show. But I give WWE credit for working around Roman's schedule. And, whether you had the John Cena run, whether you now have this idea where you have CM Punk and Randy Orton back into the mix, you still have a lot of stuff to be excited about, even though your world champion isn't there. So give them credit for that. We have some strange sun that just came out and kind of is reflective here, so our picture's kind of weird. Hopefully it's not too bad, and you've stuck with me this entire way. If so, let me know what you're thinking about everything. Are you excited for CM Punk being back? A lot of people a little trepidatious. Oh, I hope that he's got his act together. I think he will. I bet CM Punk came back and had the next year mapped out as to what he's going to be doing in WWE, and I expect them to stick to that. I think they have the plan unfolded, and if that's the case, I think he's going to be okay. This is really probably the last little go-around here for Punk as a full-time performer, and I hope that he's excited to be a part of WWE and that they're able to make this work. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, this is only going to last a few months. Let's hope not. I know he signed a multi-year deal. Let's hope this is something we can get excited about and just enjoy it. Let's all have some fun with this. This is going to be really cool. I've heard from a lot of people I haven't heard from in a long time who stopped watching WWE years ago and are now coming back, and they're going to be watching Raw tonight. So let's see how this goes. Really exciting time. I loved this show. I'm excited to have CM Punk back in WWE. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and you know what? Let's get back together tomorrow and chat all things WWE Raw. Till then, talk to you later.